Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. Where first up, we're in the wonderful Madikwe Game Reserve in the northwest province of South Africa, and Jamala to be exact. Now, my name is Ralph Kirsten, and what does the bush hold in store for us today? Well, you'll have to sit back, relax, and watch as the animals come down to quench their thirsts and cool off. And as per usual, please don't forget that this is a live and interactive experience, so we'd love for you to jump on board with us and send us through your questions and your comments. You can do that by going on the WildEarth website and registering. You can also join the conversation on X, formerly known as Twitter, using the hashtag WildEarth, as it just showed on your screens. Now, whatever it is wildlife related, please send it through. Of course, it looks like it's nice and warm here. A lovely summer's day in Madikwe, and of course, lots of elephant activity. See, a couple of those youngsters already getting flat out in the water, rolling about and enjoying the lovely cool mud. And the little one in the middle here seems like it wants to join the fun as well. A few birchals or plain zebra on the opposite bank, also just having a bit of a drink. Bit of mud wrestling going on there, and the youngsters really do enjoy playing around in the water. So, Paul, you're first up, and thanks for your comment saying that you love some happy Ellies. Well, I think they are at their happiest when they're in the water. Dawn? Some of them just drinking off here on the left. That is the preferred drinking site where the fresh water comes out. Elephants being water connoisseurs, so they do really prefer that nice fresh water. A little foal zebra on the other side as well. Tiny little one there. And there's actually a couple of little foals. One on the left group, and then one now that's off on the right, near to that favored scratching post of the elephants. Just look at these elephants, though. They're almost disappearing in the mud. But that one, he's got his head right under the water. Needs to get a trunk up and take a breath. There we go. So Adam asking if the calves learn this kind of behavior from their parents. Well, Adam, with elephants, they are extremely sociable. So not only from their parents, they'll also learn it from their siblings, from their cousins, from their mates, So lots of different generations within each breeding herd, and that bodes well for the youngsters because then they'll have individuals that will be just a little bit older than them, but also willing to and always wanting to play. And that's where they learn it from. They learn it from basically all the other individuals within the herds. There's actually a lot of learned behavior that goes between the elephants. They learn how to use their trunks, they learn how to feed and different techniques of doing so. And one of them being, when there's big clumps of grass that they want to try and pull out, they often grab it with their trunk and then they kick it with their front foot to the side and helping uproot it. And so you often see the little youngsters practicing or trying to get it right when they see the adults and the older ones doing so. And then they'll also learn, as you'll see on the top right of your screen there's one individual kicking the mud around, making it a lot more sloppy and mixing that soil up with the water. And then the youngsters will learn how to do that because then that sticks much better to their skin when they throw it on themselves. So this is all about bathing, keeping cool, thermoregulating. And if they put mud on themselves, then they'll stay cool for longer once they leave the waterhole. So it does make sense to get that mud nicely mixed up. And so the little ones will learn as they see the older ones doing it. Right, so lovely start this. And as always, lots of activity, especially from the elephants at Jamala. But I think let's change of place now. Let's go to the Greater Kruger Park and Djuma. Lovely, nice close-ups with the gang. So I think let's just try and listen in a bit with them being so close like this. You may wonder why these elephants are in here. Well, obviously they're in the shade, but more importantly, they're in the shade of a marula tree that has been dropping its fruit onto the ground, and we've seen the impala feeding here on them and spitting out the seeds. So I'm pretty sure that the elephants are here to feed on the marulas as well.
This is On Safari. In this particular case, it looks like he's made a coalition with his sons.
I'm sure this afternoon is going to be a fantastic drive, as always.
Now remember, this is live and interactive, so we'd love to hear from you.
So, comment from R. Laura Moore saying an elephant selfie. Yeah, that definitely was, wasn't it? It was very up close and personal, but it looks like the signal's been given and that herd is moving off. And Wally Behan saying, evening, Ralph. Well, Wally, I wonder where you are in the world. Morning for us, but evening to you too, sir. Nice to have you on board with us. And I tell you what, this is the area where I used to go running when I stayed at Juma, and I would always run around midday because, like the animals, it's a time when they also understand that the predators have the least amount of activity. So for me, it was the safest. We always say you don't run in the bush, but we used to try and exercise, and to do so normally means a bit of running. So I used to run around Quarantine, which is just up past where this elephant is now on the left. But I used to do it around midday, and every now and then there used to be a herd of elephants that I would see and would bring a end to my running. But anyway, it looks like they're moving off in another direction, so I would have still been able to go for my daily run. And speaking of running, it's almost like these elephants are doing just that. They are moving. And that big bull obviously just going to follow in behind them. It seems like there was a bit of leopard activity, the naturalists being able to find some spots this morning on Juma, a couple of leopards. So that was obviously great to see. Okay, so now that these ellies are pushing off, I think we'll do exactly the same. And let's go back to our swimming elephants at Jamala. Where it seems like the fun never ends. This is a real favorite spot for the elephants, and sometimes we have even over 100 individuals here all at once. Not quite as many right now, but they really are enjoying the water, aren't they? So, Diane, good morning, straight back at you. And yeah, you're quite right. There's not many animals that do enjoy the water quite as much as elephants. I think probably maybe warthogs come close. Buffalo, they like to lie around in the water, and so do rhino, but they don't play around in the water as much as these guys do. Yeah, Jarrett, director, saying hyenas maybe. Yeah, I've seen on a couple of occasions. The one day at Mashatu, we saw the hyenas running around and playing in the water. But it's not quite as regular as the elephants. And they really dominate this waterhole in particular. I think it must also give them a little bit of a sense of weightlessness, or at least a little bit less of a weight on, with them being such heavy animals. It might get a bit of less strain on their legs. And I think it just gives him a wonderful feeling as well. They do struggle a bit with thermoregulating. So when it's nice and hot, to cool off like this, I think it just gives them a real sense of joy. Oh, just speaking of them, there's a couple of warthogs, a little family group on the left-hand side of your screen. Oh, quite a few other animals coming in there as well. Some more elephants and blue wildebeest and a little group of warthogs. How many piglets are there? Oh, that one's getting chased by the blue wildebeest. So 4 little piglets. And one still just getting a scratch in on that rock. The one on the right there has found a nice post to scratch itself on. Oh, there we go. Found another bush to scratch on and that rock. There we go. He's got a snout full of mud. That looks to be a favoured scratching rock. Just the right height. Looks like it could get in nicely under the belly and perfect for the bum too. You see that tail is out of control as well. So like with the elephants, who are pretty much, creatures of habit, they'll often come and have a drink, then have a splash, then go for a dust bathe. Well, and sometimes also go for a bit of a scratch after that as well. But the warthogs, they generally come in, have a drink, wallow in the mud, and then go and scratch. Find themselves a nice scratching post. I think in so doing also helps get rid of parasites when they're caked in mud and then they get scratched off like that. And I think they just enjoy it as well. Nice herd of zebra also pulled in for a drink. So, Lily, you're saying that there's so much action here, Jamala? Well, there sure is. And it's nice to have a nice range of animals. We pretty much always have the elephants, especially when it's hot. But it's nice to have all of these other guys as well, especially the warthogs. So comical in their actions. And the lovely stripes of our convicted horses, donkeys, being the zebras. And lots more animals coming down the elephant highway on the left there. Nice big open pathway down to the Waterhole. So, and generally, also with the elephants, the breeding herds don't spend as much time as the bulls do here in and around the water. But it's lovely when they do hang around. But generally, they'll come in and get things done a bit quicker and then move off. And the bulls are the ones that stick around, sometimes for prolonged periods. But this is just fantastic that they have decided this morning to spend a bit more time.
This is On Safari. Now remember, this is live and interactive, so we'd love to hear from you.
To be having these incredible experiences in this wild underwater forest.
It was just one of those things which I don't think I'll ever see again in my life.
Thanks for joining us on our sunrise safari.
And some more zebra coming through there on the opposite bank. Now, I just found a little article on the Getaway website, and they were speaking. This was in 2013, but this is news that I didn't get, or somehow it didn't get to me, or I've forgotten about it. But it was actually an elephant that was killed by lions here on Madikwe. And this was in November 2013. It seems like it was a young bull, probably about 9 or 10 years old. And it was part of a breeding herd, but it seems like the breeding herd sort of just left it. So maybe it actually wasn't, because normally elephants will band together and chase off lions. It seems like in this case, they left the youngster, and the lions took it down. So, it's not often that we see this with lions hunting elephants. And obviously, definitely part and parcel of the bush, and they are sort of apex predators here, and they are able to take down elephants. And then we know in Botswana that the super prides there are some that actually specialize in hunting elephants and even take down adults. Well, they don't really take them down. They jump on its back and start biting into its spine. It's not a very nice thing to watch. And obviously, lots of vocalizations by the elephant. And eventually, it's sort of from exposure, I think, and also the injuries to its spine, it becomes immobilized. And then the lions literally start feeding on it alive and eventually dies of shock. But does supply a lot of meat, so it's a good prey for the lions to get. But here in these parts, there's not really enough lions, I would say, for them to be able to specialize in hunting elephants. And the elephants, as I say, really stick together, so it does make it a bit more difficult for them. So R. Laura Moore was asking, is there a routine at the Waterhole? Same pattern or mix of animals at same time of day, each day? R. Laura Moore, it can be like that. And I mean, I always know that, and I often tell my guests in different game reserves, I get to know different waterholes. And then I will often, especially when it's hot like this, you can tell when the elephants are going to be coming down. And at certain places, it's, at certain times as well. And I know there's certain lodges where the elephants go and drink from their swimming pools, and then they say it's normally around 11 o'clock, and other sort of water holes, they might come at a different time and so on. So they are creatures of habit, especially the elephants, and when it's particularly hot, then they will be coming down at the hottest part of the day. So you can normally judge, it's normally between 11 and 2 or so that the elephants will be at the waterhole. But the other animals, it's also quite similar. The hotter it is, the more they'll come down to drink. But for them, it depends more so how many elephants there are at the waterhole, and they'll hang back and wait for it to calm down a little bit before they come through. So yes, that rhythm, especially when it's very hot, you'll see from the zebra, the wildebeest, and the elephants coming through during those times. When it's cooler, you notice that the behavior does change, and they don't necessarily come down in the heat of the day when it's not as hot. So while we continue to watch these Ellies enjoying the water, I found a lovely article on The Conversation, which speaks on the elephants of Madikwe and a study that was done. And they're talking of safari tourism potentially could make elephants more aggressive, but still being the best tool for conservation. And they say also that going on safari in Africa offers tourists the opportunity to see some of the most spectacular wildlife on Earth, including African elephants, Loxodonta africana. Known for their complex social systems, long memory, and high intelligence, this species is also threatened by poaching and shrinking habitats, so further disturbance to their precarious existence could have serious consequences. Wildlife tourism can help protect these animals and their habitat by generating income for conservation and providing stable work in local economies. Countries such as South Africa and Kenya receive 2 to 5 million visitors to protected areas each year, generating receipts of up to 90 million US dollars. But as it becomes more popular worldwide, it's worth remembering that we often don't know how tourism affects the animals we observe. The tourist in the room, as opposed to the elephant. In Madikwe Game Reserve in South Africa, tourists stay in lodges within the park and go on safari twice a day in large open vehicles driven by professional field guides. Over 15 months in Madikwe, we recorded how often elephants performed stress-related, vigilant, or aggressive behaviors to find out whether they increased during months when there were more tourists. Vigilant behavior could be an elephant extending its trunk into the air to smell. Stress-related behavior included elephants bunching together or fleetingly touching their faces with their trunks, a response akin to a nervous tic in humans. Aggression was noted, for example, if an elephant charged at another, spread its ears to appear larger, or hit another elephant with its tusks. We also watched the movements of elephant herds to see if they stuck around or moved away from tourist vehicles. And they found that elephants were more likely to be aggressive towards other elephants in months when tourist numbers in the park were high. Elephant herds were also more likely to move away from tourist vehicles when there were more vehicles present. So it appears that tourism does have some impact on elephant welfare, but this may not be entirely bad news. We didn't observe an increase in stressed or vigilant behavior in response to higher numbers of tourists, and the effect of increased aggression was small. Hunting can have much greater effects on elephants, as you would imagine, even among those who aren't attacked or hunted by humans. Studies which measured levels of stress hormones in elephants after they witnessed hunts or were nearby have found that they increase significantly. Humans riding on the backs of elephants is also much worse for elephant welfare than observation tours. So wildlife watching without physical contact seems to be the better mode of tourism for elephant welfare, but it's not without its concerns. So is tourism the ultimate answer? And although these results were interesting, they're only from a single population in South Africa where driving regulations are and were enforced. So we don't know how elephants are affected in areas where tourists drive their private vehicles on safari, unaccompanied by professional guides. We also don't know what exactly was causing the changes in behavior. More tourists per month meant there were more vehicles on the roads, but also more air traffic, more diverse smells and sounds, and who knows what else. So parks could create refuge areas where safari tours are restricted and contact with wildlife minimized, perhaps in areas where there are fewer roads already. Tour companies could strictly enforce a no off-roading rule and prohibit guided walks by tourists. Such refuge areas have previously been shown to have great potential in reducing pressure on elephants during times of increased stress, such as following large wildfires, for instance. So tourism can be a great conservation tool as long as it is monitored closely and measures are taken to alleviate the potential pressures it can put on animals. If you're ever lucky enough to find yourself on a safari, think twice about getting up close and personal with that iconic species. Instead, keep your distance and the welfare of the animals in mind. Now, with all that taken into account, I've been in game reserves. The elephants are they're very curious. For instance, down in the Eastern Cape, those elephants love to come up to the vehicles, and it's almost like, and I know that they purposefully do it, especially the older bulls. And they really enjoy coming up and making themselves acquainted and smelling the vehicle. And yeah, sometimes they just have to see my vehicle and they almost come trotting. But yeah, as with humans, I think all the elephants are individuals. I think they all react differently, and potentially, the history of the animals themselves as well, and their past interactions with humans. I've seen it in the Namib Desert, where behaviors have changed with the elephants, with the increased tourism, both from the lodges and self-drive vehicles. Some of it positive, but also a lot of negative sort of behaviors that they've learned. But I think it's a lot to do with bad behavior from humans that have pushed them down that road. But ultimately, I still think that if it doesn't pay, it doesn't stay, and that includes elephants. So we have to get you through, and just the best way of doing things. And I think tourism definitely up there.
Out in the wild, life moves fast. To capture the action, you've got to be in the right spot at the wrong time. Now, incredible animal behavior, selected from amazing amateur and professional footage, to reveal the secret lives of animals in motion. This is raw nature, caught in the act.
So, wow, I mean, it's still very dry here in Madikwe. There has been a little bit of rain. I don't know exactly how much, but just judging from what we've seen, um, very little, I would say, and hazard a guess, it's probably below 100 mils. And slowly heading towards autumn. I'm just hoping that there is a substantial amount of rain that falls before winter comes, because generally, being in a summer rainfall region, it it's heading into the period of normally no rain, but we sometimes do have in winter. We have had this last year, especially, so we never know. They might have a bit more this winter, but always hoping that a bit more rain falls, because you can see how the bushveld here really needs it. So Lucy Khwedi asking, what is your most memorable sighting at the Waterhole? And Lucy, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'd have to say at this Waterhole, it's been the elephants. I mean, they've stolen the show here. It's really been very active with elephants, particularly when it's nice and hot. And we've gone through summer with them being here pretty much every single day. Then a nice special sighting that we had was 5 young male wild dogs that spent quite a number of hours here. And they weren't very active. They were just lying up. It was a cooler day, but that was wonderful to see. And we had a pack of wild dogs that came through, but that was just before the show actually started, of course, and they disappeared as the show started for real. So yeah, it's been between the elephants and the wild dogs, I would say, the best sightings and the most memorable for me here. And of course, Lucy also asking, do lions come and drink water in the waterhole? They will do, Lucy, but I'm pretty sure that if we watch this waterhole right through the night, we'd have regular sightings of predators such as brown and spotted hyenas, as well as lions. I'm sure they'd come here for a drink. But yeah, and maybe at night as well, there wouldn't be as much elephant activity too. So it just generally changes from day to night as well. And comment coming through from Lenny1 saying, yay, Ralph, great to hear you. Well, great to have you on board, Lenny. And let's see what the bush is going to do for us today. Look at those youngsters playing there on the opposite side. Just a bit of dominance role playing there. So you see these two bulls here just having a bit of a go at each other. That one on the left seemed to be dominating. You know, sometimes it's difficult to see, as now he's rubbing his eye. It could just be the character of the one on the left. But I wonder, this one on the right, it's closer to us, so it does seem bigger, but maybe we're perceiving it to be bigger. The one on the left's tusk is definitely bigger than this one on the right. So I'm not quite sure, but everybody's standing still now. I wonder if there's a conversation being had. Now, just when I saw those two little young bulls, well, the one mounting the other one, we often get questions from guests surrounding this and from viewers. And whenever I often, see this kind of behavior from dogs, there's always a real strange reaction from people towards this. It's normally a laughing or whatever. And, got to love a little bit of a controversy. So I think we'll delve into it, and especially around the topic of homosexual behavior in animals. And I just found something on Wikipedia, and they speak of various non-human animal species exhibit behavior that can be interpreted as homosexual or bisexual. And this may include same-sex sexual activity, courtship, affection, pair bonding, and parenting among same-sex animal pairs. Now, various forms of this are found in every major geographic region and every major animal group. The sexual behavior of non-human animals takes many different forms, even within the same species, though homosexual behavior is best known from social species. Now, scientists perceive homosexual behavior in animals to different degrees. A 2019 paper states that same-sex sexual behavior has been observed in over 1,500 species. In a previous 1999 book by Canadian biologist Bruce Bagamy, states same-sex behavior comprising courtship, sexual pair bonding, and parental activities has been documented in over 450 species of animals worldwide. Although same-sex interactions involving genital contact have been reported in hundreds of animal species, they are routinely manifested in only a few, including humans. So Simon LeVay stated that although homosexual behavior is very common in the animal world, it seems to be very uncommon that individual animals have a long-lasting predisposition to engage in such behavior to the exclusion of heterosexual activities. Thus, a homosexual orientation, if one can speak of such thing in animals, seems to be a rarity. The motivations for and implications of these behaviors are lensed through anthropocentric thinking, and Bagamill notes that any hypothesis is necessarily an account of human interpretations of this phenomena. And very often it's much more about dominance in my mind when I see dogs doing it, and when we see young bulls doing it like that. One species in which exclusive homosexual orientation occurs is the domesticated sheep. About 10% of rams, or the males, refuse to mate with ewes, or the females, but do readily mate with other rams. So this is where it becomes important. Is it actually a manifested behavior, or is it just something that's happening at the time that we're reading into it incorrectly? And in October 2023, biologists reported studies of animals, over 1,500 different species, that found same-sex behavior, not necessarily related to human orientation, may in fact help improve social stability by reducing conflict within the group studied. So maybe it's actually quite important for there to be that kind of behavior within especially social species.
If you are a driven nature enthusiast with a background in communications, then this message is for you. WildEarth is calling for volunteers to moderate our web and social media chat platforms during our live broadcast. Do you keep up with the latest trends on social media? Do you have quick fingers and a sharp eye? Then we're looking for you. To apply, email your CV to us at jobs@wildearth.tv. Join the WildEarth team today. WildEarth, connecting with nature.
You see, this sometimes becomes a bit of a game with the bulls. I think they find it quite amusing that the animals run away from them like that. Not so nice for the zebra, though. Now, a couple of other hypotheses on the topic that we were speaking on. One proposal for the adaptive function of homosexual behavior is the formation of alliances and mutual social benefit to the animals. Studies support this in specific species, such as black swans, where a quarter of mate pairs consist of two males who mate with a female and then chase her away once she lays the eggs, then raise it themselves. And these male pairs have great success in defending their territory and resources and keep their young alive until fledgling 80% of the time, compared to 30% for male-female pairs, which is indeed extremely interesting. So studies done on homosexual behavior in birds showed a negative correlation between relative parental investment and female-female homosexual behaviors. For example, females that invested more time and care into their young relative to males had less homosexual encounters. Similarly, there was a negative correlation between relative parental investment and male homosexual behaviors. This meant that species exhibiting a high degree of polygamy, where females often are the exclusive caretakers of the young, female-female sexual behaviors were very rare. Whereas in a socially monogamous species, in which a male-female pair works together to care for young, they were much more common. The trend was opposite for males. In polygamous species, male-male sexual behaviors were quite common, and in socially monogamous species, they were rare. So the study argues that release from parental care, a very energy-intensive investment, allows the opportunities for homosexual behaviors to be exhibited, and higher parental care prevents homosexual behaviors from occurring because of the energy cost of the behaviors. So I know it's getting all very technical, but it's still highly interesting to me, and I hope you're finding it too. Okie dokie. So I think we'll leave the zebra getting chased around here by the elephants just for a little while, and let's head back to the Greater Kruger Park and Juma. Where it looks like we've got another group of elephants coming through. I doubt it's the same ones that were here earlier, unless they've just walked in a big circle. Anything's possible, but I would think that it's another group that's making its way through here, and hopefully will stick around, but maybe not. Looks like they're maybe on their way out. So I'm not sure if they're leaving just yet, but they could even be from that breeding herd that was here earlier. Maybe they're trying to catch up with them. But we'll keep an eye on them. Maybe they'll move through the bush here and head to another area where it's they're finding it nicer to drink from. Maybe they'll come around and have some of the marulas off the tree. Not that the marulas lie on the tree, they ripen on the ground, just to make that clear. And Jive Bunny was saying, loving those elephant vocals. Yeah, it's always nice, say Jive Bunny, especially those when they're almost squealing for joy in and around the waterhole. So it looks like they're heading in the same direction as where those other elephants did go, or seemingly move towards. So I wonder, they could be part of that group trying to catch up. Still hear the woodland kingfisher in the background. Won't be around for too much longer, and we won't be hearing them anymore. There's our resident hippo. I'm not sure who it is. The male, or the bull, we've called Dewey. And then there's a female now with a little baby. Is that the little baby I'm seeing on the left? Looks like it might be. So this may be the female. It's like they don't want to be seen by the camera. It's just hiding behind what I think is red bush willow. Maybe it's a russet bush willow. It does look like a combretum, these bushes.
Ubuntu. I am because we are. A new dawn for the fastest growing continent on the planet. Be part of Africa's Web3 awakening. Ubuntu Token, launching 29 February 2024. Join the allow list now.
Looks to be a lilac-breasted roller. I was going to say a white-fronted bee-eater when it was looking like that, but as soon as it turned to the side, then I saw the beak, and I'm pretty sure it's a lilac-breasted roller. So Lenny was asking the question, if the baby hippo is a male, will the mother be more likely to try and keep it away from Dewey, the presumed father? So Lenny, generally with all the mammals, the males and the parents or the father doesn't really have an issue most of the time with most of the species with the youngsters. It's only later, once they sort of start developing testosterone, and they start becoming interested in the females, that the males then have a problem with them. So there's a combined number of factors that make them sort of become aggressive towards those males, and it's generally as they're starting to come into adulthood. There's obviously a lot of hormones that are being produced, and then the males and the fathers will pick up on that, and that's when they sort of won't tolerate them anymore and start being aggressive towards them. So for the time being, generally there wouldn't be any issues between the male, the adult male, Dewey in this instance, and the little youngster, regardless of whether it's a male or a female. Okay, so the elephants seem to be coming through here every now and then. We'll keep an eye out and see if any more come, and especially if there's any rosettes moving through and that come down for a drink. But in the meantime, I think let's head back to our elephants having fun at Jamala. Well, some having fun, some just drinking, and this is seemingly the spot where it's time to get down to business of actual drinking, not really playtime at this particular little area. So now that we're back with the elephants, they say that African and Asian male elephants will engage in same-sex bonding and mounting, as we saw earlier from those little ones. Such encounters are often associated with affectionate interactions, such as kissing, trunk intertwining, and placing trunks in each other's mouths. Male elephants, who often live apart from the general herd, often form companionships, which consists of an older individual and one or sometimes more younger males, with sexual behavior being an important part of the social dynamic. Unlike heterosexual relations, which are always of a fleeting nature, the relationships between males may last for years. And the encounters are analogous to heterosexual bouts, one male often extending his trunk along the other's back and pushing forward with his tusks to signify his intention to mount. And same-sex relations are common and frequent in both sexes, with Asiatic elephants in captivity devoting roughly 45% of sexual encounters to same-sex activity. And I think giraffes are actually quite an interesting one or species in this regard, because male giraffe have been observed to engage in remarkably high frequencies of homosexual behavior. After aggressive necking, it's common for two male giraffes to caress and court each other, leading up to mounting and climax. So such interactions between males have been found to be more frequent than heterosexual coupling. And in one study, up to 94% of observed mounting incidents took place between two males. And the proportion of same sex activities varied between 30 and 75%. And at any given time, 1 in 20 males were engaged in non combative necking behavior with another male. So only 1% of same sex mounting incidents occurred between females. So you see that nice big herd of zebra have moved off, and it seems like a lot of the elephants have too. There's only a few now remaining, but we'll probably have more coming through, I'm sure. Oh, here comes a youngster. Maybe we have a push and shove. There we go. So another bit of playtime for the youngsters there. But you saw how that one ran up and headbutted the other one. And they do say that young bulls will obviously spend time practicing this kind of headbutting, mainly to establish rank between themselves, but also to develop the skills that they will need and use to win dominance later in life when they become adults.
This is On Safari. In this particular case, it looks like he's made a coalition with his sons.
I'm sure this afternoon is going to be a fantastic drive, as always.
Now remember, this is live and interactive, so we'd love to hear from you.
So now it seems like that little family group of elephants have had enough. It's time to go. I think that's a rock pigeon that I think they're nesting somewhere near to this camera. We often see them coming in. I saw it flip past there. So Lucy Khwedi asking, are the animals not infected by the dirty water? So Lucy, not really. I mean, this water hole, it's a little bit stagnant and it's got quite a bit of mud in it, but I think it's just that. And the elephants obviously prefer drinking where the water's fresh and it obviously tastes better, but they wouldn't necessarily get sick just from drinking even stagnant water. A very big preference of the elephants is to drink nice fresh water. And so when there is a stagnant pond, you'll often even find them digging next to it, and so that the water seeps through the sand and makes it nice and fresh for them. But it seems, the stomach acids of animals are particularly strong, and generally don't have a problem, with drinking water, even if it's stagnant, if it's got mud and sand and dirt in it, etc. It's not really a problem. And most of the bacteria and stuff that is in it, that could potentially be harmful to humans, the animals generally don't, have any problem with it. They can get sick from, and for instance, like with anthrax, in the northern parts of the Kruger Park, which is very prevalent, especially when it's very dry. They'll pick that up and obviously get sick and die from it. But in general, in these kind of water holes, the animals are quite strong against any of the pathogens or anything that might exist within the water itself, and so not really a problem for them. So it's that time of the show and of the day that we'll also be introducing the Africam waterholes, and that does then open us up to a lot of different locations. So it's about that time.